something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Oh, there I am, hiding down the bottom. See if I can't. No, make myself a bit bigger. Do that one instead. How are you, folks? Hope you're doing all right. Here we are, day 2 in Canberra, and what an interesting day it has proven to be, at least in the early part of it. As you saw earlier this morning, if you were watching live from Parliment House, I went in with Wade and Neil. What am I saying, Neil? Nick. And it was an eye-opener. I haven't been into that place since sometime in 1990 or maybe late 1989. And I had no memory of it really from the first time I was there. And today was quite the eye-opening experience for a variety of reasons. I guess the first reason would be to do with the company that I was there with, and two wonderful guys, Nick and Wade from Billboard Battalion, just legends. So I'll tell you more about what I learned from them today, and I really did learn a very special lesson. Judith, first in the house today, and I apologise to everybody for being a bit higgledy-piggledy with times. I'm trying to stick with whatever the local time is, so 6:30 p.m. local, and if that means I'm in Canberra, that puts me in Eastern Daylight Savings Time. If I'm back in Queensland, I'll be on Standard Time, so that's pretty much how that works. But I've had a couple of issues with my computer, which automatically did not change time zones, which might have been an issue that we had yesterday too. I think I've got a fleeting idea. So anyway, I've now managed to change the time zone on my computer. So when I set it up, it's actually in the local time area rather than set up in Queensland time. So I apologise if I stuffed a few of you around. I'm a bit early for some of you, and for some of you, probably, well, a bit earlier again than what I normally am for you. So that's how it'll be for the rest of the week anyway. And judging by what else is going on, there might be a few changes in my schedule. I was planning to turn around and head back to Queensland on Friday, but there might be some changes to that. Tony, can I tell you, my good friend, how am I feeling today? I am feeling, after your healing last night, I was telling somebody about this today who had a very sort of kind of attitude to spiritual healing, which is, I think, what happens when I ring Tony and say, oh, I've got a pain here, and he comes and helps, he and his team. It's not just him. And Rachel is either benefited from or been part of that team to help me at times too. So yesterday, for whatever reason, I felt it coming on late the day before yesterday as I arrived after driving 12 and a half hours or whatever it was to get down here. I felt it starting to come on the night before last, but by lunchtime yesterday, or even by, I'll be honest, by 10 o'clock yesterday morning, it was already troubling me. But by midday, when we started proceedings, I could barely walk. And yes, it's that dreaded gout back again. I don't know what. Well, I've got a vague idea of what I might have eaten that triggered it, because I've only eaten one thing that was different. Bloody Doritos, which I didn't mean to buy in the first place, and I didn't eat many of them. But with whatever condition it is that I've got that triggers this shit in my foot happening, it doesn't take very much. So I had about 5 of those Doritos on the drive down, thinking, ugh, yuck. And here's the end result. Couldn't walk. So Tony and his crew, or even if it was just Tony, did this healing on me last night. And I was very aware of the time it was going to happen and all that, and I was sort of joining in on it, if you like. And I swear to you, I felt the pain well, the pain in my foot turned to heat. And it wasn't a painful heat. It took the pain away, but I could feel heat, warmth spreading through that area, which is my understanding is warmth is what you want, given one of the home cures I have for this is to stick your foot in a tub of boiling or as near to boiling water as you can. Get it as hot as you can possibly stick your foot in there and hold it in there for, because that somehow softens the crystals that are what the gout sort of thing is. So I was not looking forward to trying to do that to myself last night and then walk around with a badly burnt foot in Canberra for a week. So I reached out to Tony and I woke up this morning, and while the pain isn't totally gone, I can walk comfortably. I've been walking comfortably all day. I've been walking up and down stairs, which yesterday I avoided like the plague, because those of you that know, if you've got a bit of this gout stuff and you've got it in your foot or a joint or an ankle or something like that, then I can't imagine what it's like for people who get it in their ankle or their knee or their hip or other places. I just get it, the ball of my foot where my big toe joins my foot, and that little bit on the inside, if you like, of my right foot that pokes out a bit, that bit can't put any pressure on it, like the ball, the pad of my foot, can't put any foot pressure on it. But today, no problems. Still a little bit sore, as I say, but I'm thinking good thoughts about my foot. I'm saying wonderful things to it. We're having a good conversation, and bugger me, it works. Quite astounding, quite astounding. Sunflower, you gorgeous woman, I hope you guys are doing well up there. I'm told there's been a few storms up in sunny Queensland, and weird ones at that. Hope to hear a bit more about that. Good. Paul's managed to get his notifications happening up on the phone, so there you go. YouTube are even sending them out late by the look of it, because I think I put this one up a bit late, or given time zones, well, maybe that's what it did. It put them out given... Yeah, that's probably what it did. I screwed up the time zone, so you did get a notification. Andrew, nice to have you in the house. There is somebody with an alphabet. FGHDFG. Very good. Hi, Carl. This is urgent. You hear Guru is not going to be streaming anymore, and Beck Freedom has her own Twitter removed. Is this the work of the cabal? No. No. Well, I don't know about Beck Freedom. I haven't heard anything about Beck Freedom's Twitter account, and by the looks of it, I'm still streaming on Twitter. And I've said a lot of things that I would have thought if we're going to get kicked off of, I probably would have got kicked off prior to this. So, no, I have no knowledge of Beck Freedom. I haven't spoken to her in a few weeks. In fact, since before she and Jesse went away for a holiday, and when they came back, they went for a weekend away, and when they came back, the March for Australia group seemed to have splintered somewhat, with Queensland being the leaders in that. I've neglected talking about it because I don't fully understand what's gone on there, and I haven't reached out to those players involved to find out, because at the end of the day, I thought March for Australia was a pretty good idea, which is just getting Aussies together for Australia. And yes, Thomas Sewell's group did get involved, particularly in Sydney and to a certain extent in Melbourne and a lesser extent in Queensland. This is the thing that upsets me the most about people who would ordinarily tell you in the street over coffee or standing there with a flag draped across their shoulder that they will fight to the death for free speech, but the NSN can't go and speak at their rally. When did it become mandatory for you to obey, much less listen to, anybody on a stage spruiking anything? The fact that you exercise your own free right of reply and free speech by loudly proclaiming your disdain for whatever it is the NSN was saying should be enough. You should be able to say, no, I don't agree with that. Turn your back and walk away. That would be much more effective as a message to the NSN, if you wanted to send one, than standing there trying to go toe-to-toe with them or yelling abuse to a bloke who's holding a microphone with a 20,000 watt PA attached to it. You can't win when you don't have a microphone. Understand that, folks. You will never win, even if you've got a loud voice. If there's a 10,000 person crowd and you're somewhere in the middle of it shouting abuse to the bloke on stage, he might hear you, but everybody else won't. And he'll just address you and probably make you look like a bit of a tool if he's any good at it. So don't bother reacting. If people say things you don't agree with, turn your back on them. Start conversations with something else in your own little groups where you are. Wait for the next speaker. Walk away. Go and have a smoke, or go and stand with someone who's having a smoke because you know they're clean, nicotine and all. You know, spike protein won't stick to that. They might smell a bit, but, you know. You don't have to agree with everything that's said. God knows I have gone to any number of speeches and not agreed with very much of what's being said. But do I carry on like a pork chop, and do I claim all sorts of things that aren't necessarily true, but I can conflate this into a great story? The NSN only has power if their message resonates with the people. Are you afraid that the Australian people are all going to turn into National Socialist Nazis? Do you think the Australian people are so gullible as to accept their messaging when you so vocally do not? What makes you different? Why are you scared that all the rest of the people aren't seeing it like you are? Why do you have to jump and yell and scream? Or is it just the use of the word Nazi? Do you even understand what the word Nazi or where the Nazi party came from? Do you understand the history of it? I'd stop using the word unless you understand the history of how the Nazi party came into being and what Hitler did with it prior to World War II, let's say. But World War II was certainly part of it, and I'm not making excuses in any way, shape or form for anybody or any government or any nation that committed atrocities in World War II. And trust me, they all did. Especially the Russians, the Americans, and the British. Especially the Russians and Americans outside Berlin, to the tune of millions. But that's a story for another night. As for Guru, well, I spoke to Guru while I was driving down here the other day, and then briefly again yesterday morning. Now, my understanding is Guru's on air tonight and will be on air tomorrow night, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he's taking off because he's needs a bit of personal time, and I can't see a problem with that. He did say he was going to encourage Kaz to take those nights off as well, but he thought she probably would keep going. So I don't know. The show will probably keep going Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But no, Guru, to my knowledge, has not been retired. That came out last Friday night on the show as well. And when I told him that, he roared laughing. So no, there is no retirement for Guru. There is a bit of personal time. He has some appointments this week that he has to travel for. So why put the pressure on yourself? He is getting treatment, and whether or not, I honestly don't know whether or not the appointments this week are related to the treatment or not. But if they are, and if you are a praying person, I would ask that you extend your prayers to Guru and the battle that he's fighting at the moment. It is a serious battle. And say your prayers to whichever God you seem to think works for you. And hopefully the Guru will be able to get a very good prognosis. So at the moment, working hard towards that, and he still looks as fit as a fiddle, I've got to say. So that's a good sign. But no, he, as far as I'm aware, has not retired or resigned or been stopped from broadcasting, unless something has happened today that has made that happen. But I haven't been across anything today, to be honest. In fact, I'm a bit disappointed that I left the Parliament before Pauline Hanson walked in a burqa. Trust me, leave early and miss all the fun. However, that leads me on to what I was going to say about today. So this morning, get to Parliament House, parked underneath. First time I've done that. And don't know why I'm telling you how exciting it was to park underneath, but it was interesting. Actually, I'm not going to tell you why it was. It was just an interesting thing to do. Made my way upstairs and then did that little live that you saw. Then we went inside when Wade and Nick turned up. Now, that's where things got interesting. When you get to Parliament House and you want to go inside, clearly there are security machines you have to go through, body scanners and such. Now, as one of them said, one of these security people who were, I've got to say, lovely people, as one of them said, they've got it turned up to Star Trek level at the moment for whatever reason. So it's picking up everything. You'll have to take everything that's got any kind of metal out of it. Didn't pick up my glasses, funnily enough. But it made me wonder, what happens if you've got nipple piercings or peenie piercings or, you know, the like? I don't know where other people might get piercings. But a lot of people do it, especially the young people. Belly rings, all those kinds of things. What if you've got a tongue piercing or a snot ring? You know, do they have to come out? Yes, they do, apparently. So just be careful if you've got a peenie ring, or I don't know, maybe you can put plastic rings in or something for the day. I'm not really fully up to speed on how those sorts of things work. What if you have, well, I know ladies have other things pierced. What happened? You got to admit that when you go to security. Oh yeah, I've got, I don't know, is it the right time of day? In some places of the world it is. Am I allowed to say the word? I didn't notice any change rooms where you'd be able to go and drop your tweeds and take out whatever piercing that might be offending the security guards at the time. But anyway, aside from that, we got through security and I thought, okay, it was strict. I had to take my belt off, broke my belt, putting it back on. Bloody great. And I said, well, shit, it's not even useful to hang myself now that I'm here. But anyway, the security didn't see that was funny either, funnily enough. We went inside, got a list of when the Senate was sitting and what they were going to be talking about, and promptly decided it was time for coffee. So we arrived at a wonderful little cafe, which hadn't opened yet, but we got in very rapidly once it did. And this is where it was really brought home to me, the lesson that I was being taught. And I don't know whether or not they intended to teach me this lesson or not, but Wade and Nick have taught me an extremely valuable lesson today. Right from the moment I finished the live and walked with them into Parliament House, literally 10 steps from where we turned that camera off, we walked straight into 3 federal police officers who'd been standing watching me do that live from the centre of the forecourt for the whole time I'd been there. And we walked towards them and they started talking to Wade first. He was closer to them. And then I stumbled my way up and was putting stuff in my bag. And I've got to say, those 3 federal police officers knew Wade and Nick by name, were very happy to see them, like they greeted like they were old friends, and vice versa. A wonderful conversation about why we were there and, you know, which particular part of the fuckery that we were fighting for, or at least going to see abused that day. And the police were on this. They weren't being facetious. They weren't intel gathering. They were genuinely interested in what was going on and what this bill would mean going forward and what control it allows the WHO, the WEF and the UN over us. Genuinely. So we must have stood there for 5 minutes talking to those blokes, and 3 more came over and stood behind them. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. But no, those 3 came in to have a listen as well to what Wade was talking about. Very powerful message. And if you haven't seen it, I uploaded his entire speech. Well, it took basically all of yesterday afternoon to upload, but it's on the VOF channel under the videos, I'm pretty sure, section. And if you would like to go and have a look as Wade explains in detail how this dangerous bill will work if enacted into law. And that's why we're here this week. And this afternoon, Wade had already prearranged certain meetings with politicians. Me, on the other hand, not so much. They don't talk to me a great deal, and I don't reach out all that often. I am going out for dinner, well, as soon as I finish the show. And I'm going to an area where the politicians tend to like to go for dinner. So I might run into one or two of them. And if that is the case and they're prepared to speak to me, then I'll try and record something. But what I learned today from Wade and Nick will go with me now forward when I talk to these politicians. After we left those 6 federal police, we got nearly to the door and there was a senior federal police officer standing out in front of the main doors to Parliment House, where he greeted Wade like a long-lost friend. And more conversation ensued about the bill today and what that means and how that links in with why they were there last week. And these blokes were very understanding. In fact, without quoting them directly, the ones that were doing the speaking in this were very much on our side. And the ones who weren't doing the speaking were doing a lot of nodding and a lot of agreement. It was very encouraging. So that's the AFP outside. But when you step inside the doors, that's the Australian Protective Services mob. Now, they're all ex-police officers and ex-military and associated other bits and pieces. And they take their job very seriously, as you'd expect. So we bound through that first level of security, which I thought was the only level of security. How stupid of me. So we get a coffee, we get upstairs. Oh, getting through that first lot of security, every one of the Protective Services staff knew Wade by name, greeted him like a long-lost friend, Nick too, and nice conversations about friends and family, not business, not, these are people obviously who have spent time watching Wade, listening to him when he's been in Parliament or talking to him while he's been there. And I've got to say, nicer people you would not meet. Really, really tremendous people who I also get the feeling, because they look over their shoulder and talk from the corner of their mouth, when they want to tell you something. And they do want to tell you stuff. So I had to leave Parliament before Wade did, and I had a couple of conversations on the way out. But I only got those conversations because I was with Wade on the way in and was sort of introduced. So I found it very educational, and I want to publicly thank Wade and Nick, who will probably be where I'm going for dinner tonight. And if that's the case, there will be another live coming off the phone at some stage. Where was the other security? Well, after we had coffee, where Albert, who runs one of the cafes, and a very nice cafe, can I tell you, at Parliment House, where Albert brought our coffees over to us personally. There were 250 people there, but he brought the coffees to us, made sure that there was a seat. It was all good for Wade and his guests, I guess. Beautiful coffee, lovely coffee, great conversation, many people, great room to sit and watch the lobbyists who are turning up for the day, because they're all sitting there with their little orange leotards, I was going to say, but lanyards is the word, and staring deeply either into their coffee, their laptop, or their other cohort sitting across the table from them. It was very interesting to try and I was very surprised by a few things. I was very surprised that there were more non-Australians at our parliament yesterday and today than there were Australians. In the gallery in the Senate today, once we'd gone through the second level of security, which entails you handing over everything you own, your wallet, your phone, your backpack, which contains a number of cameras and associated other bits and pieces, recording devices, everything. You cannot go into the Senate chamber with anything other than the bit of paper that tells you what they're going to be doing there today. That I wasn't ready for. Strikingly surprised at that, but that's how it works. So you're not going to get in with them, and they clearly don't want you recording things independently of the parliamentary recording service. And if you watch any of the parliamentary broadcasts on the ABC, you might think they're ABC cameras that film all that. They're not. All those cameras that are mounted in and around the walls of both the Senate and the House are run by an in-house parliamentary television station, if you like. And there are a variety of, and I'm going back a long time. I knew somebody who used to work in there, but that's pre-2000, so things have probably got a bit slicker. But it was quite the operation back in those days. Now, apparently, mainly digitally controlled. A lot less people working in that environment, but still an interesting place to be. And walked in on the back of Lydia Thorpe, quite literally, she had her back to me, as she was trying to give Katie Gallagher some razz about a new social security amendment bill or some such. Katie Gallagher was about the only Labor member at the time worth noting in the House or in the Senate. I found it disgusting that I didn't do a whole count, but I would be surprised if there were more than 15 actual senators. In fact, I'd be surprised if there were more than 10 actual senators sitting in the Senate while these early motions were being discussed or speeches were being made or anything. Ralph Babbitt came in at one stage, sat down, listened for a while, got up and walked out. And the only one that sat there, I guess because she's the minister responsible, was Katie Gallagher. When it was her time to speak, she got up and said a few things, to which Senator Thorpe objected rather loudly and started to shout back. And Katie Gallagher turned around and said, excuse me, Senator Thorpe, I listened to you without interruption. You can show me the same courtesy. Well, that was interesting because I'd been watching Katie Gallagher during Lydia Thorpe's speech as well, because as it appears, I found Lydia Thorpe's speech about as gripping as Katie Gallagher did, because she was having a conversation with the bloke sitting beside her for the entire speech. Now, my guess is she'd been prepared about whatever the supposed objections were going to be, and she got up and just read verbatim from a statement, essentially. But this whole process felt contemptuous to me. Like the Labor Party are holding everybody else in the Senate in complete contempt. We will do what we like when we like. We will make excuses. We will change laws. We will put hardship on people. We don't care. And there's nothing you can do about it, because we'll get our little green mates and our little teal mates to come in and vote with us in that place every time. And I guess that's why the Greens and the Teals don't bother turning up, or the Libs for that matter. I think they only turn up and vote on matters where there is actual division. I think they only turn up and listen to the speeches when that speech is about something that the two major parties are divided on, because both of them are looking for the independent vote. And I'm not even sure that they turn up then. They probably send an underthing or just read it in Hansard later, or get an underthing to read it and then praise it for them while they're sitting at the office having a sherry at 2 o'clock. So, interesting times. Outside of that, I'll be back there tomorrow. I will make a plan as to how I can make a recording in there. I'm not going to be able to do a live, I don't think. They do. Apparently today I was very lucky to be able to get away with what I did with the live in front of Parliament House, because ordinarily to film on the forecourt you need permission from some public servant somewhere, presumably, or probably the President of the Senate or the House, whatever. I didn't ask for or seek any permission. I just went out and started filming. But I might have just looked like a tourist taking a few photos, and they didn't worry about it too much. And certainly, by the time they were going to take interest, I was wrapping it up anyway. But I won't do another forecourt video tomorrow. I'll try and do it from inside, and we'll see what they do. They don't allow, from what I understand, lives from inside. And I don't know. How many of you really want to see me arrested? Probably not that many, I wouldn't have thought. So God love you all for wishing and trying. Jinder Lee, how are you, brother? We've got to catch up. So Jinder Lee, there are a few of us trying to get together and have a dinner, maybe Wednesday night, we're thinking, in Canberra at the Kingo. So would love you to come along if that's the case. And Daniel, if you're watching, love you to come along to that one too. I don't have your numbers, or I would give you a call and invite you personally, but this is as personal as it's going to get, I'm afeared. But you know where I'll be Wednesday night from 7:30 or thereabouts. So look forward to seeing you there. Wade will probably be there. Nick will probably be there. There'll be a couple of others. It won't be a huge table, I don't think, but we will see what happens. Okay, I'm just trying to read through a few of your comments and see if there's any questions I need to get to. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Ask me. All these new numbers and things that are coming up on the names, they've changed something in the algorithm. That's weird, I agree. But don't get too upset. It's only a little change, and it doesn't affect anything, at least as far as we know. All right, let's kick on. There is more to talk about, and a video that I want you to watch. Pardon me. Now, the Corruption Whistleblower, if you haven't seen the 4 newspapers that the Corruption Whistleblower released, then you must go to corruptionwhistleblower.com.au and download them. They're $2.50 each, I think. So for $10, you will download 4 briefs of evidence. They look like a newspaper, but trust me, they are briefs of evidence and can be accepted and have been accepted as such with an affidavit of support. Now, the Corruption Whistleblower folks, Donna and Peter, wonderful, wonderful people. I've been very fortunate to be involved with them now for, on and off now for 18 months or so, and been very fortunate to be involved in some of the initiatives and actions that they've taken, including one here in Canberra earlier this year. And they came back to Canberra last week and initiated another action. This is a pretty serious action, can I just tell you. Now, I'm going to put this document up. You can go and download this document for yourself if you would like at corruptionwhistleblower.com.au. It's an affidavit of certificate of service. And more particularly, what we're looking here is the first respondent, the CEO of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. The second respondent is the CEO of Westpac. The third for ANZ. The fourth for Australian New Zealand Banking Group, ANZ, somewhere another ANZ group. National Australia Bank is 5th. Standing Committee on Economics is 6th. Deputy Chair of the Standing Committee on Economics is 7th. The Deputy to something else. Anyway, there are a great number of respondents in this document. Now, what is this document? Well, I can tell you, I can only advise you, go and read it for yourself. I'm going to play you something shortly which will detail to you in no end exactly what this is all about. And it is about trillions of dollars that have been stolen from the Australian people. Now, this is something I've just blown up out of that document. It's the cover page. It's a Global Command public notice. And the bit that is highlighted there, we can understand who Adrian is and associated other bits and pieces later. What I want you to understand here is they are publicly requesting details on the trustees below to publicly initiate an audit process with unlimited access to all governmental agreements claimed to be made regarding the financial system employed, including the accounts of the white spiritual boy and the spiritual wonder boy. Those two accounts are where all the money resides. And why would they be called white spiritual boy and spiritual wonder boy? Well, that's a whole other interesting story. Very interesting story indeed. This document outlines who's responsible: the Committee of 300, the World Banking Group. And once again, these are just the Australian banks listed, but there are many, many, many more. So Donna and Peter are going to explain this further tomorrow night with us. It will probably be a pre-recorded show tomorrow night, only because of their availability. But if you have questions after watching what I'm about to play you, then please feed them to me at carl@vofhq.com. I'll try and copy them out while this is playing because it's a 15-minute video. But what they did last week on behalf of the Australian people has shaken not just the Australian banking industry, it's shaken the global banking industry. So let's have a look. He says, hopefully.
I pay very close attention to it as well as you.
So Peter and I are here today at New Parliment House, and we have served this document to Matt Common, the CEO of CBA.
You can also see here in this document the Australian and New Zealand Bank was given 1.1 trillion, but it was not only 1.1 trillion, it wasn't Australian money, it was 1.1 trillion American Treasury Reserve notes.
And the Australian Reserve Bank was given how many tonnes of gold?
12,000 metric tonnes of gold at 4% to be matured in 30 years. So we can also look at the Westpac Bank Group. That was also given 1.1 trillion in 1967 to be matured in 30 years at 4%.
And supposed to be dispersed, sorry to interrupt you. So on that maturity of after 30 years, it was supposed to be dispersed to you and me and all the people for humanitarian projects. But no one's seen a cent.
So today we did serve Matt Common, as we said before. So this is the first there may be of their acknowledgement of these facts. And Australia should have been in a mass prosperity program. None of the homes should have been collected at a minimum since 1997, because that's when that was to be released.
Yes, but really the question for CBA is, where's the 660 billion that was accruing 4% interest from 1967? Just wondering where that's gone.
And they're talking about the rubbish scams, and that scams are scams, but they are rubbish scams compared to the monumental scam that's been taken on by the banks or committed by the banks against the Australian people at a minimum since 1997, when these funds were supposed to be given out. And when you think about if every Australian man and woman were given roughly about $500,000, that adds up to about $1.25 trillion. So imagine what 660 billion at 4% accruing at 30 years amounts to. It's probably about $3 or $4 trillion. So that means all the home loans since then would have been all obsolete and paid out.
Yeah.
Because we know for a fact, if you look in the bills of exchange under promissory notes, that all loans are fraud anyway, because they make you fill out a contract, a promise to pay, which is the promissory note in the Bills of Exchange Act 1909. They put that on their ledger and then they give it back to you in digital dollars in your bank account, for which you then have to pay interest. But they only release the principal, so they create a debt slavery society. But today starts to unfold, and we're going to expose this scam, and you just have to see how they act.
So we'll have more information at corruptionwhistleblower.com. We're going to put these documents up there on corruptionwhistleblower.com and on Corruption Whistleblower, the Telegram channel. So we'll post these documents up there, and we will be continuing to serve the documents on Westpac this afternoon and tomorrow on NAB and ANZ. And then we will be going personally to the AGMs and continue to serve the documents to raise their awareness as to their crimes and to eventually audit them. So we'll be auditing them soon, and no doubt the entire nation is going to look forward to a true and independent audit of these 4 criminal banks.
Thank you very much.
Humanitarian purposes, 30 years after the 1967 deposit. Are you aware of any of that? We can get that, and that's got all the evidence in it, and then you'll get orders to audit it.
We're coming after it. That's what we're telling you.
Yeah, so we just want to let you know.
It's stamped by the full bench of the International Criminal Court, 18 judges.
Okay. And John Howard,
So it's serious stuff.
Yeah, John Howard signed off in 2007. So it looks like that the 4 big banks and other subsidiary banks have got quite an amount of money, including the Reserve Bank of Australia. That there's a little bit with their permission to.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the original depositor's coming after the money.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Cheers.
Good afternoon. We've just served Anthony Miller, the CEO of Westpac, and informed him of the billions and trillions that looks like they have embezzled the people's money that was supposed to go to humanitarian projects from 1997 onwards. So this is the document that he got, and we'll be back tomorrow to serve NAB and ANZ.
Yes, and today we also served the standing committee. So they've all received this document that Donna's holding here, and it's a firing shot across the bow. It's not the order, but we have to give them notice before we give them order so they can brace themselves for what's coming. The original asset depositors are coming for the money.
So that's what we informed Anthony Miller of, that the original depositors are looking for where their trillions of dollars have gone. So we'll do it all again tomorrow. Yeah. Taking back the nation, one bank at a time. That's that. Woo.
What's happened to ANZ? Looks like in 66, 67, I've been at 1.1 billion. Yeah.
66.
Yeah.
That's bigger than Australia.
Yeah, so it's all here, and you'll see it's all been signed off by the Prime Minister, by John Howard, and numerous people here. So we've got all the documents here. Most of it is
Sorry.
Sorry, it's just I'm just serving these documents on him. So yeah.
This is a suit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll get a bit more information from you.
No worries.
Later.
All right, I think I've now got this. Can we
Yes,
just
thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
ANZ Bank in 1967. It's one point and was denied to give to the public in
Yeah, I'm allowed to because we're not in formal
by
proceedings.
John Howard to the true and correct document. and it's also signed off by the full bench of the International Criminal Court. So we've been given a mandate to collect the receipts of that. And so any communication, so this is a notice, will be based on a formal demand.
Of course.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Yes.
Come to serve with this document. It's in relation to fraudulent conversion.
I don't think there's anything you need to serve those. Is there?
Yes, there
Yeah,
is.
yeah, there is quite an important
Signed off
issue.
by the full bench of the International Court, Justice, International Criminal Court, signed off by John Howard to say this is a true and correct document. So the NAB, you look here in NAB received 700 billion in 1967. So the depositors are coming after the money. So,
Thanks. Thank you. Hello, here we are again at New Parliament House. We were here yesterday on the 18th of November, and we're here again today on the 19th of November, serving the 4 big banks. So yesterday we successfully served Matt Common from CBA, and we served Westpac Andrew Miller. And this was the document that we served. So today we served ANZ, Nuno Matos, and Dr. Anthony Warren, who was his offsider, and NAB, Andrew Irvine. Would you like to speak to the document?
yeah, so what was served today was this document here, which shows that those 4 major banks, the ANZ was deposited 1.1 trillion US Treasury Reserve notes. The Commonwealth Bank was deposited $660 billion, and the Westpac Bank was deposited 1.1 trillion at 4% for 30 years. So that was supposed to be released to the public, 50% of that after maturing, which would have been much more than $5 trillion or $6 trillion. So 50% of that was to be released for humanitarian projects, but it clearly wasn't. So it involves fraudulent conveyance by all the 4 banks and the other 3 banks that have concealed these prosperity funds for the entire of Australia. So what that means is that every collection of a home loan is total fraud, because the money was there to give back to humanity, and the other 50% was to be rolled over for a further 30 years at 4% for another humanitarian and prosperity package. Now, this document signed off by 18 judges of the International Criminal Court. It was also signed off by John Howard and the Honourable Member Nicholas Minchin in 2007 to show that this document is absolutely true and correct.
Now, Peter, can I ask what happened and how much the RBA got?
The RBA received 12,000 metric tonnes of gold in 1966 at 4% accrued over 30 years, which means in today's terms there would probably be about 42,000 metric tonnes, which they can now no longer return back to the international depositors or the originating depositors of that gold. So we believe that they're in a spot of trouble, not just a spot. We believe they're in a deep hole that they will not be able to return the funds to the international or the originating depositors. So we wait and see what happens in the next process. They've been put on notice today. The formal demand will go out in the next 2 weeks or thereabouts. But in the serving, we also served, could you read out the names of the standing committee?
Oh, yes, we did. We served the Standing Committee on Economics, which was held on the 18th of 19th, which allowed us access to the 4 big bank CEOs. So the chair of the Standing Committee on Economics was Ed Husick. The deputy chair was Simon Kennedy. We have Julie Ann Campbell, Matt Gregg, Madonna Jarrett, Jerome Laxell, Henry Pike, Sally Sitchu, Allegra Spender, and Aaron Violi. They were the 10 MPs that asked questions, and the documents got served on them yesterday on the 18th, and also served to Ms. Kate Rogenveen. She was the inquiry secretary, and she received the full documents and an updated cover page today. So they've all been served with this public notice that the originating depositor has appointed 12 trustees in Australia, and the 4 banks will soon be audited to find out what's happened to the people's money.
Now, just a quick note on those, on the standing committee, now that they've been served and it's a brief of evidence, that any further concealment of it is knowingly taking part in the fraud. So they really are in a difficult position where they have to make this knowledge public to the people. We've been ripped off by the government, by all the banks, and they haven't given us our prosperity packages, which should have sent Australia into a massive boom cycle of freedom and non-slavery, non-debt slavery. But they've concealed it and kept us all slaves. We know where we are today. We work, mother and father, 8 hours to work, 2 hours travelling each day or thereabouts, and there's no time for the children or the family unit anymore. So that's about all from me today.
Yep, we're from the Corruption Whistleblower newspaper, and we love blowing the whistle on government corruption. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. Oh, look out. People are ringing me already. And thank you for my corruption whistleblower hat, government corruption whistleblower, which, oops, sorry, 1 second, oops, stop that, which I was not allowed to wear into Parliament today, just between you, me, and the gatepost. So, stranger things. So how's that for an interesting little turn of events? I find it quite intriguing. Trillions of dollars, all provable, all provably deposited back in 1966, 67. Hundreds of billions of dollars that seem to have gone into the banks, and well, nobody seems to know where it's gone. Well, I'm sure somebody knows where it's gone. And judging by the looks, as many of you caught, the looks on some of those CEO faces and some of those suits in the background while the documents were being served was rather telling. There was a lot of shock. Now, what I can tell you is that this has gone a little further. Certainly it's gone out of Australia because these documents do actually have international connotations. We're going to find out more about that tomorrow when I speak with Donna and Peter directly. Now, the plan was to pre-record. We might not do that. We might do it live tomorrow night, yet bearing in mind what happens tomorrow with me and time and dates and places I've got to be. I'm meant to be doing an interview at sort of 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we'll just see how long that runs. Let me have a look here. You don't care until action takes place. Well, yes, action that does need to take place. I couldn't agree more. And but action without a plan, action without a goal, a defined goal, and a path to get there is reckless. And we'll only get one chance at this. So doing it a reckless way, I don't think, is the way to go forward. There are a variety of people who want to push things in directions that are probably more harmful to the population than helpful, even though they believe it will be more helpful. The actions that some of those people talk about might be helpful in the future if nothing changes in the meantime. But at the moment, for those actions to be successful, we need a lot more of the population awake and understanding things like that document. So tomorrow night, hopefully, Donna and Peter will be able to explain in much greater detail how this affects us, where we can go with it from here, and is there a court in the world that can bring the banks to heel? I think that's probably going to be the biggest question we have. All right, folks, it's, oh, good. Geez, we've nearly run on the dot of the hour. So I'm going to shoot off because I do have dinner to get to tonight, and it'll be the first time in, when did I work in Canberra? 1995. We used to do a thing every Tuesday night when I worked at FM 104 in Canberra back in 1995 for about 8 months. Every Tuesday night, we'd go to the King O for dinner. You'd have to cook your own steak. I think it was about $10 cheaper if you cooked it yourself. But where's the fun in that? Who do you get to complain to when it comes out wrong? Anyway, I believe all that's changed now, and it's slightly more salubrious. But we'll see what happens. Crunch, you reckon the banks will run from this? Well, they're certainly going to try and run and hide. However, the document is a fully binding legal document. It will need to be answered. So how they hide or how they prolong the proceedings to a point where they don't have to stand up and speak, or that's what they'll be trying to do, will be interesting. They'll also be looking for a lot of government support to help protect the secret, because government has been heavily involved in this. All shades of government. Doesn't matter whether it's red or blue, they've all been involved in this, and they all know it. The people who've mentioned Nasara Jassara in the chat here tonight are not too far from the truth, I don't believe. The banking system, the cabal banking system, the fiat banking system has to be shown for what it is. A criminal organization that's been extorting money out of its clients, which is a new word for slaves, since their inception. And these documents might go a certain distance to proving that. In fact, I think they'll go a very great distance to proving that. So, folks, be safe. Do what you do so well. If you are going to be in Canberra, or you're thinking about coming along at some stage this week, certainly floating around. I have yet to make an appointment, but I am going to the War Memorial at some stage. I want to go and do a story there, which I'll probably put up on FBN unless I run into somebody terribly interesting to talk to. But very keen to do that. There are a couple of people I've put in requests to talk with, but we'll see. We will see. Some might be more keen than others, let's say. So maybe none of them will turn up. We'll see what happens. But if you want to come up for a beer and a meal, then I think Wednesday night at the King O, 7:30 would be the time I would be aiming to be there by, which means the show will probably come, at least in part, live from the King O, and I might have to get Vince to push the buttons from me because we'll do it from my mobile phone. So that will be part of what happens on Wednesday night. And hopefully we'll bump into one or two politicians who might join us live. There could be some pigs flying too. Be safe on the roads, folks. There are dickheads everywhere. I've noticed most of them here seem to be driving Ubers.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!